I believe Hawaiian, non-Hawaiian alike, we are touched by a spirit of place. I also believe that sometimes some of the bad decisions that are made down here in Honolulu are because we have insulated ourselves in cement, iron, glass molds that don't let us reconnect with the Aina.
Cultural consultant and executive director of Lāna'i Culture and Heritage Center, Kepa Maly. Next on Long Story Short.
Long Story Short with Leslie Wilcox is Hawaii's first weekly television program produced and broadcast in high definition.
Aloha mai kako, I'm Leslie Wilcox. Kepa Maly was an introverted teenager, feeling isolated and so adrift that he left his home on Oahu for a new life on the island of Lāna'i. He was welcomed by the Kaupuikis as a keiki ho'okama, an older child taken in as one's own by another family. The only haole boy in school, Kepa forged a connection with the native Hawaiian culture. He became a fluent speaker of the Hawaiian language. In fact, if you close your eyes when he speaks Hawaiian, you think you're in the presence of an old-style native speaker. Kepa eagerly immersed himself in the depth of knowledge of his elderly Hānai parents, Tutu Mama Hattie Kaena'okalani Kaupuiki and Papa Daniel Kaupuiki and other kupuna. All of that translates into an adult life in happy partnership with his wife, Onaona, conducting oral histories and other research on Hawaii's people and places. These ethnographic studies have helped preserve island cultural treasures.
I would like summertime, yeah, you hit 15 on Lāna'i, you go out and pick pineapple, right? I loved it when I got night shift because I'm not a night person, but I'm an early morning person no matter what it is. And so I would pick pineapple, we would get off, close to midnight or something like that. So I'd get a few hours sleep. And Tutu had said, up at Waiapa'a were the springs. And in this spring, Tutu Mama said, there was a kananaka, a mermaid, a mo'o form that lived in this spring, that when Tutu Mama was a girl, she would go up there and her kupuna had warned her, "Ina aya no ka mo'o, ka kalimalie oi a la'ipono ka makani." You wait until the mo'o is gone, the winds have calmed, and then you go take your water. So I wanted to go see the spring. I never saw the mo'o, but I got up to Waiapa'a. So they would talk about these places, or where the last purple blossomed lehua.
You would go alone on your own to find these places?
Yeah. I was old enough, but in my mid-teens up through high school, so it was great. And I would know when I'd found them, come back, describe, or else, Tutu would say there was Maly up here, and go find the Maly. Or Tutu would say, had the sugar mill, the old sugar mill. No one knows there was a sugar mill on Lāna'i. Tutu folks, Uncle Lloyd Cockett, Tutu Maggie Kawana'ole, they would talk about this place or that, we would go out and I would go find them, It was, to me, it was, so, I'm sorry, one last, when I was in high school, people do you remember Donald Kilolani Mitchell, who was up at, yes, he and Ho'olu Kambra, them and others from Bishop Museum would come to Lāna'i, and I would get pulled out of school to go take them to go holo holo.
Because you'd already been around.
Yeah.
Now your Tutu folks, were they too elderly to go with you on these explorations?
Yes.
How old were they?
Well, 1890 and 1892, so two of them are in their late 70s, 80s. Their life continued, up through their mid-90s, just about early to mid-90s.
And were you the first child for them?
No, they had 16 of their own.
16 children?
Yeah. The oldest today, Auntie Lei, or Ku'ulei Aloha, Ka'opuiki Kanepai, is 96. She is sadly the last elder native speaker of Hawaiian language on the island,
Lāna'i has a long history of weathering change brought on by the introduction of European livestock, pineapple production, an affluent tourist clientele, and other byproducts of Western contact. From Kepa Maly's many years of gathering the stories shared by kupuna, he brings Lāna'i's rich cultural history to life.
Lāna'i, in at least the tradition of a chief by the name of Ka'ulula'au, perhaps 1400-ish, based on genealogies. He goes to the island, which at that time is called Ka'ulahea, because named for the goddess that gave birth to it. He encounters ghosts akua who dwell on the island and who make it very difficult for anyone to survive there. He goes around the island, it's a wonderful story, and actually challenges the ghosts and vanquishes them. He reaches the top of the mountain, the highest point, and builds a house there. And he invites the last group of akua ghosts to come to the housewarming party. They weren't very bright, apparently. Inside the house, he's thatched it with pilali, the gum of oha, and kapapala, trees that are like bird lime that they would catch birds with, just stick. Well, as a ghost walks in, you have to kneel down to get into the door of an old Hawaiian house, because they weren't tall doors. And as each ghost comes in, he goes, pipiri kamako ki aku o Lāna'i. He sticks them up face first, closing their eyes against the thatching wall of the house. Steps out, burns the house down. The ghosts are killed. The last ghost, the king of the ghosts, is the last one to die. And on the day of his death, the island is called Lāna'i, Day of Victory, Day of Conquest.
That's what the victory
Yes.
is.
And so Lana'i Hale is the peak of the island, the house of Lana'i, built, as we said, by Ka'ulula'au. But there are incredible place names, stories. The other peak of our island home is called Ha'alele Pa'akai, which means salt left behind or discarded. And it's a story of two fishermen who come across from Maui, Malihinia. They come across, and see, that's another good word, malihini. Malihini doesn't mean there's someone who wasn't familiar to a given place. Okay?
So it could be somebody like me from Honolulu going
That's
to Lāna'i.
correct, exactly. So these malihini come, and they're laden down with their pu'olo, pa'akai, their fishing gear. Early in the morning, they rise up to the summit, the second summit of Lana'i Hale, and they look down into Palawai Basin, and they see a bed of white. Ai no ka pa'akai. Pono ya mau ha'alele ka maua pa'akai. There's salt down there. We should just go ahead and throw away our salt, and we'll gather the salt below. Well, they get down there. Now the sun is rising. Guess what? Hoka, no more nothing. The salt's all gone because it was mist. And so they ask a native of Palawai, ihe ka pa'akai, where's this salt? Kuiheva olua, you made mistake. He pa'akai he ohuale, no, it wasn't salt, but only mist. And so Tutu folks taught in parables also, right? And one of the sayings was, ke kuiheva ke kanaka pi'ikula o Lana'i Hale. The mistake of the men who ascended the slopes of Lana'i Hale was to discard their salt. Don't act in haste. Yeah? Know what you've got. One of the fun things about growing up on Lana'i was hearing Tutu folks talk about this place and what it was known for, and these stories are really incredible. Whether they're recorded in medley and traditional chant form or even in music, and of course Lāna'i has been so out of sight, out of mind for many people that there are not a lot of songs out about Lāna'i. And so Tutu folks had their 65th wedding anniversary, and I composed a song for them. It was my way of expressing as a gift of Allah, because I couldn't give them any, I had no money, right? Couldn't give them anything. So they had their wedding anniversary, and I composed a song for them. Then we come up to what was basically their 75th wedding anniversary. Imagine, 75 years of marriage, let alone just living that long, yeah? And I composed another song, and it was all based on the stories that they had told me about Lāna'i. A stronger section of the verse, a softer section of the verse being Tutu Papa and Tutu Mama, who always covered him, gave him that softer, those qualities that, made life easier. And recently, woke up crack of dawn with these words in my mind and this melody. And it was celebrating storied places of Ka'a, Ahupua, which is the northwestern end of the island of Lāna'i, where Kiaya Kavelo, where you and I visited, the quote-unquote Garden of the Gods. And the very point is Ka'ena, the beach, this miles long of white sand beach, Polihua, Cove of Eggs, because the turtles nested there. And that's celebrated in one of the few ancient mele of Lāna'i, for the Pele migration, where Pele, you know, you know, calling Lāna'i of Kaulahe's Pele. She wears a garland of ie that is woven for her. As the lines of the mele go on, it describes that Pele eats of the turtles of Polihua. It was okay back then because it was in their cultural context, yes? And it talks about these places, though, and about standing on top of Kanepu'u and looking up to the heights of Lana'i Hale, and you can see the cloud layer going down like a garland at Mauna Lei, which means mountain garland, you know. So the song speaks of some of those famous places.
What about that wind you told me about with that
yes.
lovely, just gorgeous name?
See, again, that beauty of the Hawaiian poetry and language and of their mind, it comes from their na'au, from their very gut, their essence, yeah? The wind's name is Ho'omoi Pili. Ho'omoi, cause to lay down the pili grass. And of course, when we stand out there, you can see how that wind can cause actually sometimes things more than pili grass to lay down.
That's right, the rocks get eroded.
Yes, yes, and rolling away. Bits and flakes of rock like an onion, unpeeling one layer after another and being blown off into the wind, you know?
Ho'omoi pili.
Ho'omoi Pili, yeah.
And pili is a word that you use a lot.
Yeah. Well, pili is not just that grass, but it is the connection, the relationship, the closeness, yeah, that we feel. And I believe Hawaiian, non-Hawaiian alike, we are touched by a spirit of place. I'm sorry, I also believe that sometimes some of the bad decisions that are made down here in Honolulu are because we have insulated ourselves in cement, iron, glass molds that don't let us reconnect with the aina, you know?
Can't even see it.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, these kinds of things. Can I share with you a little bit of that mele?
Oh, I'd love
that talks
to hear
about that? You know, we just...
So this is a tour of the northwestern
the
side?
northwestern side of Lana'i.
No,
Ka'a.
there's a Ka'ena on Oahu is
That's
also
correct.
northwestern. Is that,
Yes.
what does that mean? That means heat, doesn't it?
Well, it can, but it also means wrath.
Wrath.
Because the currents that come from the Ko'olau and the Kona sides of the islands meet there, and they roil. Yes.
That's
so
it, and I've seen them.
yes,
butt up
exactly.
against each
That's
other.
right. Hano hano Lāna'i I ka Maly e he oho kupua e la I ka makani kaulana polihua I ka maneva neva ka le papahi o na ka ma'aina. Now we're going to go up to Kanepu'u and look up to Lana'i Hale. We were there. Alawa kui kanani o Lana'i Hale Puluelo ia e ke au a maunale. The last line of the song, it's 9 verses, I'm not going to do them all. Aua pana ia aina hano hano aloha Lāna'i kaui ka Maly e. So the last line says, these are among the storied places of Lana'i, which is beloved and set there in the calm. And this comes from Tutu folks, their stories, the stories, the traditions that are handed down. And so, you know, we need to keep people connected to this beauty, you know. It's all that we have that no one else has, right?
That last word, Maly, calm.
Yeah.
In 2007, Kepa Maly found the opportunity to honor his adopted island home. As the executive director of the nonprofit Lāna'i Culture and Heritage Center, Kepa showcases Lāna'i's past and provides a gathering place for living history.
Office of Hawaiian Affairs gave us $750,000 to engage young local people of Lāna'i who are otherwise unemployed in stewardship out in the field and in creating a climate-controlled museum and engaging people in documenting and collecting their history. You walk in, the space is well used. We have a timeline that I've got people from the Smithsonian and other places coming in saying this is a model for communities across the nation. So there's a timeline that takes you from the island rising above sea level to the close of the plantation in 1992. We have artifacts that were found by native families and given to Kenneth Emery in 1921 and 22 when he did his initial archaeology on Lāna'i.
What kind of artifacts?
Oh, typical things like the poi pounders, ulu mica, sling stones, lures. We have an incredible pu, a conch shell, that was found actually by John Stokes in 1911, 1912 down at Kanaele. And I got brave one day and tried to blow it. It has the cleanest, clearest sound. It's just, and imagine, who did that herald? Who did that conch, that pu, herald the arrival of sometime in antiquity, yeah? Our program focuses on 1,000 years, basically, of residency on Lāna'i. That Hawaiian period, up through a ranch. We were an active ranch for 100 years, longer than we were a pineapple plantation. The ranch was owned by Walter Murray Gibson. Gibson starts the ranching operation, formalizes it, basically as a sheep ranch, and began exporting sheep, wool, and mutton from the island to the Honolulu market. Then he passes away in 1888. His daughter, Tallulah, and son-in-law, Frederick Hazelton, take over and try various facets of business, and in 1898 come up with this idea that reminds me of modern ideas, and creates a sugar plantation. Lots of water, don't worry, we can develop 8 million gallons of water a day on Lāna'i. We're going to plant 3,000 acres of sugar. They build a locomotive, a train, they have a sugar mill, they have a community of like 80 or 90 houses, a little hotel, all this stuff. And by 1901, they formalized it in 1899. In March of 1901, they're bankrupt. And 3,000 acres of land are left uncultivated with grazing animals over it. Our reefs are buried under sedimentation. The beautiful reefs and fish ponds. Today, when you go to Lāna'i, to Keomoku Village, we're restoring through an Agape Foundation grant. We've engaged community members, and we're restoring the old church, the last wooden building of Keomoku Village. It's beautiful. Once you get there now, we have the sugar mill trail open. The church is restored. The old boat that ended on the shore is now 300 feet inland because that much sedimentation in 100 years has occurred. You know, there are things to see. We've uncovered the locomotive, the 1837 stone and mortar school, church houses also. So, you know, what we're doing is our program has allowed us, and the landowner has given us a right of entry agreement to do this. What I believe is we're creating added value for our own kama'aina experience on Lāna'i, but for people who come and want to. Why would I drive that long, dirty, kiave overladen road if nothing to see? So, you know, our program, as I said, spans this 1,000 years. A ranch, a 3-year-long sugar mill, 70 years as a pineapple plantation up until 1992. Imagine, when Onaun and I returned to Lāna'i, the graduating class of 2006 was the first class to graduate children that had never seen pineapple growing commercially on Lāna'i. The continuity on Lāna'i from one business endeavor to the next has always been the people. And there are some people, even among the plantation period, families of Japanese, of Filipino, of Korean, mixed ancestries, they are on Lāna'i because it is home. You know, we've just finished an oral history project recording elder kama'aina families of Lāna'i. And how many of them tear up when they say they came from the Philippines or they came from somewhere else or from Japan. Lāna'i is my home. There are a few places like Lāna'i now, and I think that that's an asset for us. It's a way actually to remain sustainable and viable if we care for these unique qualities.
There used to be a lot more people living on Lāna'i.
Yes.
And they didn't need a barge coming in for food either.
You got it. You know, Kenneth Emery, and actually Dr. Emery and I walked around Lāna'i together in 1975. It was 50 years of his celebrating the publication of his archaeology of Lāna'i. But when Kenneth was on Lāna'i in 1921 and 22, he gave estimates based on what he saw of a population of about 3,000 people. We've been doing, funded by Office of Hawaiian Affairs, archaeology in the Ka'a district of Lāna'i. And with the archaeologists, we know that we can rewrite the history of Lāna'i, and actually the settlement and residency history of Lāna'i. We know also that, based on the archaeological evidence, at least 6,000 people lived on Lāna'i, and what you just said, it was sustainable. Everything they need, they caught from the ocean or they grew on the land.
Wow.
Today, 1 week, southerly storm, Kona storm come in, Naulu blowing in like that. How the barge doesn't go in? Milk is $9–10 a gallon. Hey, you want good gas mileage? $5.79 a gallon right now.
I think I paid that price. It's $5.79.
Yeah.
It is. It's got to be what? Well, it is one of the highest
Yes,
prices.
it is the highest.
Is it
yes.
the?
I believe it's the highest.
And there's one gas station
One
in
gas
Lāna'i
station,
City.
yes. And of course, the nice thing is there's only 30 miles of paved road. The rest is dirt, so you know, not like we got to drive far.
Yeah, when you have a stomach ache, it's not a good time to go for a drive.
That's right.
The small but well-organized Lāna'i Culture and Heritage Center is a revelation for visitors and some residents as well. While pineapple production was tough on the land, Lāna'i still has special cultural places, and they're simply not as well known as those on other islands. At the Heritage Center in the heart of Lāna'i City, community volunteers take care of some of the learning programs, sharing island history and spirit.
Well, most of our people say Lāna'i, you know, and they say Whitestone or Sweetheart Rock or Garden of the Gods, you know. And so one of Onauna's big missions, and this is why in our website we have this place names, you know, speak our traditional names, speak the names of our kupuna, you know, and it engages people. That's what we have. So you can get a nice resort with good service anywhere. What you can't get are the stories of the people, the storied faces and places of Lāna'i. Yeah.
I know at Manele Bay, the tourists love the story of Sweetheart Rock.
Yes.
Now, is that based on fact or on true legend?
Yes,
Not
yes,
made
it
up
is.
legend?
But it's an interesting account in that Pu'upehe, or Pehe, was the name of a young, beautiful woman of Lāna'i. She was betrothed to a gentleman by the name of Makakehau, dewy, misty eyes. So you get an idea that maybe there's not a real cheerful personality there, yes? He loves her greatly, but he's also jealous, and when he leaves to go to the uplands or goes out to go fishing, he wants her to stay in the cave of Malauea, which is where Pu'upehe sits here, and then the higher peak is here. There's a cave right underneath there. Well, the cave faces out to the Kona storms. One day, Makakehau is ascending the slopes and getting ready to go gather ua'u, birds, off of the mountain lands. He looks back down and sees off of Kealai Kahiki, Kaho'olave, a Naulu storm, raging storm, southerly swell coming in. He drops what he's doing, runs back down, but is too late. Pehe has died, killed by the wave surge. He laments her passing, gathers her body, and that night she's prepared for interment. But at the close of night, he asks her family, who are rather peeved at him, to allow him to watch vigil over her this one last time. They agree. Early the morning, the sun is arising. They go to the hale, to the house site. No more them, they're gone. And off in the distance, away. My love has passed on. Never shall we two swim in the waters protected by the shark Aipuhi. Never shall we gather the ua'u of the uplands, or eat the ohelo berries, or walk the sandy shore at Hulopoe. They follow the voice, and they see that he is atop of that islet, steep-sided, 80, 90 feet high, something like that. And there's a platform built on top of it. with an upright stone in it. Still see it today. He ends his uehelu, his lament, and leaps off and kills himself. So, you know, the only junk thing about that is that that's not a real good sweetheart story, right? You know? And so they don't usually tell that part of the story.
But did it really happen, or is that a legend based on something?
We have to believe that it is tradition, that it was handed down. Two folks told the story. Walter Murray Gibson collected the story from, I believe it was Pi'ianaia, who was with Kamehameha on Lāna'i during the Kamehameha period. You know, it has been handed down.
At the time of this conversation in 2012, Kepa Maly lives on Oahu for medical reasons. He visits Lana'i each month to keep the vision strong at the Lāna'i Culture and Heritage Center. Mahalo piha Kepa Maly for sharing your long story short. And thank you for watching and supporting PBS Hawaii. I'm Leslie Wilcox. Ahui ho kako.
For audio and written transcripts of this program and all episodes of Long Story Short with Leslie Wilcox, visit pbshawaii.org.
You know, we have a mesic, a dry forest complex. It's struggling. But there are things found like a beautiful iliahi, a maile, whose leaf was the size of my little fingernail, that was famed in native language accounts as being gathered and bedecked with the lei as you went down to Polihua. You know, the puana'u or nanu, the native gardenia. 5 wild trees left on earth. There.